Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently 3:12 a.m. and 68 degrees outside. It was raining earlier, but now it's just quiet and still. Going into a new week, going into Monday. I'm gonna open my Diet Coke that I have right here. I woke up probably like 10 minutes ago. Just threw on my clothes and came right out to my car. And I have been having just the most bizarre dreams. Like every single night. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're like nightmares or that they're scary. They're just real bizarre. And I just had this dream, and like it had all these people in it from my past, like, but they were never like collectively friends. Like I had this like girl in high school that I knew, and then there's a girl that I was friends with around the time that my mom passed away. But they were all kind of like hanging around together in this dream that I had, and Alex and I were like at this concert, and do you know, like, do you ever have this happen to you in dreams when you look at somebody and like physically they look like that person, right? But they don't act like that person. They act like somebody else. And I was trying to get like Alex out of there. Like I knew that like there was like a storm coming or something. And so I was trying to get us out of this thing. And Alex was telling me this story about how he had gotten into like an argument with this guy or whatever. And it was weird because, like, it was Alex in my dream, but, like, it wasn't Alex. Like, it looked like Alex, and I was like, this isn't Alex. Like, in my dream, I can't remember who, but I knew who it was in my dream. And then all of a sudden, we were on this house where I feel like I've seen this house before. I feel like I've seen the setup of the house, because there was like this really, there were like these huge houses, and there was like this modern house in front, and then we were behind it, and there was this small street that went through it. It's almost kind of weird. It's almost kind of like I've dreamed of this house before, not that I've actually been to this house before. Isn't that weird? Like when you have, is this going out of focus already? Here. Like when you have dreams about the same like made up places like over and over and over again. I also meant to grab my hat and I forgot, so that's the reason why my hair looks so fantastic tonight. And darling Jolene Joe is over here kicking 50. She's 50 and she likes to kick. But anyway, I woke up from this dream, and Justin Anderson, do you guys know who he is? He's Kristen Cavallari's like best friend, and I follow him on Instagram, and I love Justin, and Alex loves Justin, and our friends love Justin. We like all like watch him and follow him and talk about him. He was like in my dream, and he had written this book, and I was like listening to him like read this book, and then he was doing like this Q&A, and that's what I was doing when Alex was like listening to this concert or something. Anyway, it's just this really bizarre dream. And then all of a sudden we were in this house, and there had been like this horrible storm the night before. Like I woke up like in the dream, and there had been like this horrible storm the night before, and then like everybody in the neighborhood was gone except for like Alex and I, because they had all left because these storms were coming. And then like I knew that there was gonna be like a flood, like Noah's Ark level kind of flood. But then I was like, is that really gonna happen? Or was like Alex showing me a trailer for a movie? And so I was out in the yard, and I was like picking up debris, and then I was like, this isn't our house. Like, our house is over there. And so I started going over. The other thing that's weird that this has been like happening in my dreams a lot recently is when I was growing up, we had built-in bookshelves in our kitchen. So we had like, on one half of the kitchen, this is my mom's house, was like an island, and then like the sink, and then on the other side of the island was the stove. And it had like these runners that went down either rugs that went down either side. And then we had another rug, because we had wood floors in our house, and it had like that wood block kitchen table on it, and then the built-in shelves. There's windows right behind that, and then the built-in shelves. And my mom had like cookbooks and stuff up there, and all kinds of just like stuff, you know. But she also had, and I actually have it in my house now, she had, or in our house, she had this sailor's clock that would ding. And she had bought it for my dad as like a birthday present, and he had left it in the house. And it's an actual sailor's clock, because my dad, you know, had a sailboat and he loved to sail. So my mom had bought it for him, I think like the year that they got separated. And she had it like specially made from like this ship's, I mean, it's like an actual ship's brass clock. It's like this big, and it's like this, it's like real thick too. It's like as big as it is like this, it's thick. And when I was growing up, she always kept a battery in it. So it would go off. And so what it would do is, I can't remember like how it would do it, but like at 1 o'clock, like at like 1 a.m. it would like hit, it was on like, you know, the 20-hour schedule or 24-hour schedule or whatever. So like at 1 a.m. it would go bing, like right at 1 a.m. And then at 2 a.m. it would go like bing, bing, but it was like this, it sounded like a brass bell inside, which was killing, because at like, you know, at like 8 o'clock p.m. it did that like 20 times. And I actually have that clock in my house, or in our house now. And so I keep on saying my house, like I live all alone, and I have it in our house. And but I don't have the alarm set on. Well, in my dreams lately, not all of them, but from time to time, I've that wall with the bookshelves and that clock is in my dream, and like somebody will ask me what time it is, and I can be anywhere in a dream. Like I could be outside, or I could be just in that kitchen, or I could be in a completely different building or house in my dream, and I'll like turn and look over like this, and I look right to that wall in my dream, like it's part of whatever scene I'm in. And I'm always like, whenever I look over there, my next thought is, I'm gonna be late for school in my dream. Like, in my dream can have nothing to do with school. It could have to do with, like, we're on the beach, and I'll be, like, on the beach, and someone will say, what time is it? And I look over at that clock on the wall. Isn't that so weird? It's happened several times to me recently. So, anyway, I was having real weird dreams tonight when I woke up, and, so a couple times I went back to bed, but I kept on having, like, real weird dreams. I went to bed early. Well, we went to my mother-in-law's house tonight, but we drove separately because Alex didn't know how late he was going to stay there, and I wanted to put up my vlog, and sometimes, like, he could have stayed there till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to make sure I got my vlog up, and so I was uploading it when we left, and so we drove separately. So when I left, he left like 5 minutes later, and I didn't know that he was leaving. I thought he was staying like another hour or two. When I got home, I was like, had taken the dogs out and all that kind of stuff. And that was at like 10:30. And I was like, I'm gonna go lay down. I texted him and I said, I'm gonna go lay down with the dogs. And he called me and he was like, I'm almost home. And I was like, oh, did you leave right after me? And he was like, yeah. He was so tired. Because he got up today and he went to brunch with his girlfriends. I slept in. I slept in. So let me tell you what happened. So last night, after I vlogged, I finished that book, Ola Poppy, which was really good. I've noticed, though, that I have been, like, not giving out as many 5s out of 5s on Goodreads as much anymore. Like, if I like a book and it's good, but, like, it's not like, wow, like, I'm just, like, blown away, then I give it a 4 out of 5. I've been giving a lot of 4 out of 5s lately. So I finished that book, and it wasn't that late when I mean, it was late, but it wasn't that late for me when I finished that book. And, I knew that I didn't have the book club anymore today, and I wasn't sure that I was going to make videos today because I've been taking some Sundays off, which I didn't end up making any videos today. But it wasn't because, like, I planned to not make videos. I just woke up today and I was so groggy all day long, and this is why, because when I finished the book last night, I was like, oh, well, it was like 3:30 or something like that when I finished the book. I don't know. It wasn't super late. I don't know what time it was, but it wasn't super late. So I was like, I've got time to start another book. And so, like, I pulled in and I was looking at these books, and on my Audible, because I have, like, you guys, Alex said something about this today because I mentioned it to him. I have, like, 227 books that, like, I have purchased and not started on, on my Audible. So I was going through it, which is funny because I was comparing it to that librarian that I was telling you about that we're friends with, that was at the birthday party on Saturday night. She and her husband and I were kind of going through our Audibles, and we were, like, comparing, like, books and stuff like that, because she said she reads, like, all young adult and all middle grade, except for, like, 20%. She listens to, like, adult books. She's actually listening to Malibu Rising right now by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So, and her husband listened to, like, exclusively, like, science fiction and true crime. So he and I were talking about, like, different books, and they had a lot of books that they had purchased too. The thing is that, like, there will be these great sales that happen, and then on Audible, and I go in and I buy, 5, 6, or 7 books, or 8 books sometimes, and so then I'm 8 ahead of where, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's 100 ahead, and now I'm, like, 227 books ahead. Alex was like, don't you have, like, 227 books to read? And I'm like, yeah. So, so I was, like, looking through my books, like, my newer ones that I had, and this book keeps on popping up, and, like, that I purchased, like, 2 months ago or a month ago. I don't know. I think I got it, like, 2 months ago. And it's been a bestseller on Audible this entire time. And it's kind of like a book that, like, I don't hear anybody really talking about it. It's called The Last Thing He Told Me. And I knew it was kind of like a mystery thriller, but, like, completely different than what other people, like, than what's been done. So I was like, let me check this out. And, what's going on over here? These guys are, like, trying to get this. This guy has, like, tape under his car, like, and it got hooked under one car and then hooked into the other car, and they're trying to get it off of it or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I started listening to this book last night. Oh, you guys, it's one of the best. I feel like this summer has been the summer of great books for me to read. This book is literally, like, I could have driven around. I stayed up way too late. I mean, I stayed up till almost 6 a.m. I could have driven around until the book was done last night. That's how good it was. It's by Laura Dove or Laura Dave, and it's called The Last Thing He Told Me. I'll just tell you the beginning of it, the synopsis, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. It's about this woman, and she is, like, 40, and she's a wood turner, okay, first of all, which is such a cool career, which I didn't know what that was. She's basically a carpenter, but it's like more than that. It's like you take wood and you kind of like manipulate the wood to turn it into, I don't really understand it. She describes it in the book. And so anyway, she makes like tables and stuff, and she's highly commissioned by people. Like, I mean, her stuff is like very expensive. And she's living in New York City. This is just like all like a flashback, what I'm about to tell you. And she meets this guy, okay? And I don't want to get into how she meets the guy, but anyway, because that's part of the book. So she ends up marrying this guy whose ex has passed away, and he has a 16-year-old stepdaughter, and so this woman marries him, or he has a 16-year-old daughter, and this woman marries him, and the 16-year-old basically hates her, and for like really small reasons, and she's tried really, basically the whole like a 16-year-old stepchild is like really difficult as hell kind of deal, right? It's the story that they paint. So that's like the backdrop. That's like page 1 of the book. So the book really just kind of opens with a mystery. All of this is in the synopsis. You could read this on the back of the book. But this girl, this is how the book starts, is standing at her door with a note from her husband, and it said, and she's like, did the phone not work? And she's like, I don't know. He just told me to bring this letter to you, this note. And it's a note, and all the note says is protect her. And then her stepdaughter gets a similar kind of like note plus something else. And all of a sudden, they're in the middle of this huge thing where this startup company that he is like the third person in charge of, like, I don't even really understand it, but the SEC is involved and all this kind of stuff, and the company is valued at like $100 billion. It's like craziness. Like, and they live in Sausalito, and it's very Silicon Valley kind of thing, but you don't have to understand all of that to like read the books. It's really not about all that. What it's really about is that she doesn't know who her husband is. And who she thought he was all along is not who he is. And so basically, her and her stepdaughter go like on the run to try to like find out who he is. And it's one of the most exciting books. I was telling Tanya this today, because of course I said to Tanya, oh my God, I have a great book for you. And I told her, and she goes, I read that like 2 months ago. I was like, oh my God, Tanya, you read every book that comes out. So anyway, she started telling me about it. I said, la, 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 la. Don't tell me. I don't want to know what happens in this book. So anyway, and then I called her because I thought I figured it out halfway, which I think I did. And she's like, no, that's not what happens at all. And now I think that Tanya was lying to me when I asked her if that's what happens. Because she doesn't want to ruin the book for me. Because I think I do have it kind of figured out. But even if I had the book figured out, it's still, like, I don't care. Like, it's really good. So I was telling Tanya, this is what I was telling Tanya, that it reads like watching a movie. You know, it's very much like they're in a hotel room and they have to grab their bags and be out of there like in 2 minutes flat, and like they're, you know, trying to get to the airport and jumping in an Uber, and it's very much that kind of stuff. It is so fantastically done. Like, it is so tense to listen to. I feel like I have been so blessed with listening to such great books this summer. And not to mention, last week, I listened to Mexican Gothic. Well, I'm reading a graphic novel on the side now, and that's Scott Heim book, but I haven't picked it up in a long time. I listened to Mexican Gothic. I listened to The Babysitter. I listened to Denise Mina's The Less Dead. I listened to Ola Papi. And now I'm listening to this book, which I'm going to finish tonight. So, in 1 week, I finished 5 books, which is pretty good for me. Janet DeLeon has a new series coming out. I don't really understand much about it. She's very excited about it. I think it's like a romance novel. Romance thriller, maybe. It's completely different characters. She said she's been working on this project since 2019. She put it on her Facebook page, The Instigators, which is what it's called. Instigators, get it? Like Gators. And, so anyway, I'll probably listen to it anyway, because I love her writing. But now I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna listen to when this book is over. If I listen to books that are kind of similar, I end up comparing them to each other. So I don't want to do that. Like, I want to listen to something that's completely different than this book, or I'll end up like being like, well, this is a better thriller than that would. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to do that. This is so good, though. I think the reality is I just love mysteries. You know, when I was a kid, I loved mysteries. I read so many Agatha Christie books when I was a kid. And while I loved the Peter Ustinov, well, I love the Agatha Christie movies that Peter Ustinov played, Hercule Poirot. I love, like, Death on the Nile. That was with Mia Farrow. And I loved Evil Under the Sun that was with Maggie Smith. And I think Maggie Smith was in the original train one. What's the train one called? I actually watched the most recent movie of it, and I liked it. I loved it the way that it was filmed. The Murder Express. I can't remember the whole name of it. But anyway, I used to read a lot of mysteries when I was growing up as a kid, or I would at least get them from the library. I wouldn't always end up reading them all, but I really liked mysteries. I've always loved them, and when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of mystery TV shows. Do you know what I used to watch a lot of when I was a kid? Or what TV show I really liked? I couldn't have been too young when I watched this show. I had to, well, first of all, my mom and I watched Cagney and Lacey all the time together, which was kind of like a murder show. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It was about two, I believe they were New York City detectives. And, look, my brother and sister-in-law brought me this hat from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Isn't it cute? He brought Alex one, too. We thought they went to Fort Myers, but apparently they went to Myrtle Beach. My sister-in-law went on and on and on about Myrtle Beach. She loved it so much. And it was cute because the boys both had necklaces on that had like little shark teeth on the end of them. And I took them each a bag of, I become that uncle, that Tio, that whenever I know I'm going to see the kids, I always bring them candy. Isn't that horrible? Or some kind of little toy or something. So that's, Alex and I were driving over there and he was in front of me and I pulled into the Speedway. Well, I got a fountain pop too. And, Alex's mom is like into making these like slushy drinks now. She makes like strawberry daiquiris and stuff like that. So anyway, I got the kids. Oh, well, Alex last time had bought them Sour Patch Kids, so I knew that they liked those. Because that's like, apparently Carlitos' favorite candy is Sour Patch Kids because that's his Tio Alex's favorite candy. So I got them each a bag of Sour Patch Kids. And we had a good time. How did I just roll right into that conversation? I don't know. Oh, because I was showing that hat. I don't even know what I was talking about before. The book. Yeah, I think I need to just start going over to the mystery thriller section on Audible, and I need to just start listening to a lot of like the new mysteries and thrillers that come out because I love so many of them. What was the one that I really, really liked? I see his name come up every once in a while, and I never read the sequel to it. It was called The Things We Bury. I remember that. Oh, Alan Eskins. And I actually bought that as a free book, and it was so fantastically done. It was really scary, too. And I also kind of have to go back and forth. Like, I don't like to read just, like, all scary kind of stuff. Like, it's a lot for me at times, you know? So, went over to my mother-in-law's house, and so Fufu is visiting from San Diego. So of course I told you guys, like, they, Alex's mom and Fufu, Juan Carlos, they, met Alex downtown last night, and then they went to like 2 different places, I think, and one they ate at, and the other one, Fufu and Alex shot pool, and, that was like they had like a glass of wine or whatever. So then today, Alex texted me what was I doing? I can't remember. I think I was driving around just listening to my audiobook. Alex went to this brunch today for his girlfriend. And so I slept in, and then we didn't have the True Crime Book Club, but he didn't know that because I didn't tell him that last night. So he just assumed that I had the book club today. So he was like, well, I'm going to be gone and doing this stuff. So he was. So I was driving around, and my plan had been that I was just going to go and get Chinese food to eat for dinner, because he had already eaten at brunch, and he was like, I can bring you something. And I was like, no, that's cool. Afterwards, he went over to his friend's house, and they watched, are you ready for this? The Golden Girls, the new episode of the Gossip Girls. He's now watched it like 4 times, and it's been out a week. So they watched it, and but anyway, he texted me and he was like, my mom invited us all over for dinner at 7 o'clock, and I was like, okay. And that point, it was like 6 o'clock. Yeah, I just was driving around listening to my audiobook. So anyway, because I was so into it and I wanted to finish it. I'd actually thought, well, I'll drive for like an hour and then I'll go get Chinese food and I'll come home and I'll eat. And then I'll go back out and I'll listen to, like, because I only had at that point, like, I have like 1 hour left of it. And I was like, I'll just listen to the other hour and then I'll finish it and then I can start something else today, you know? So he was like, yeah, my mom wants us to come over at 7. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, let me run home and get ready. And so he was like, well, I'm on the way home now to feed the dogs. We both ended up going to buy toothpaste today. This is kind of how our life always is. So he was like, oh, I went and bought toothpaste. I thought he said, I'm going to get toothpaste. And I said, babe, you don't have to do that. I'm on my way to get toothpaste now. And, oh, I went to Target. That's what I did. And I went in to look and see if they have the new Starbucks cups. Of course, they don't have the new Starbucks cups. So now I don't have the new blue Starbucks cup, but it's whatever. So, I was talking to somebody on the phone while I was there. I was talking to Valerie on the phone. So, I was like, I'll come home after that. So we both bought toothpaste. I think mine's still in the car, actually. So now we have like 10 tubes of toothpaste. And we had none today. I don't know. We should usually just stock up on it at Costco, but we hadn't bought any the last time. There's one thing I always forget to get. I thought I almost could have sworn, oh, that room looks so cute. I could just read in that room all night long. I could have sworn I bought toothpaste. This little neighborhood here, just FYI, it's called Zionsville, and this is Main Street, where all the restaurants and the stores are and stuff. If Alex said tomorrow, let's move to Zionsville, I would sell our house so quick your head would spin, and I would move into a little house along here. These houses are adorable, and I love every single one of them, and they're like, all of them like redone inside, and I think they are absolutely, this whole little neighborhood here is like kind of like my dream to where I would love to live. It's so cute. And it's like 5 blocks this way, but all the way down, and then 5 blocks the other way, where they have, the other side has smaller houses, but we don't need a lot of house, you know? And most of these houses have been around for so long that they're like, this one up here, okay, so this one is like an old, looks like a old, what do you call it, like post office. Then right here is a Victorian deal right on the corner. I mean, each house is so completely different. Look at these flowers right here at this little house. Look at all these flowers in front here. And it's just this little small house. But when you get up, you can see that it's got like big porches and stuff in the back. And that little house right there is probably $800,000. That is the thing about this neighborhood, is that these houses are super, super expensive. But not all of them. Not all of them. Not on the other side, they're not as much. I wish they had like one of those. Like, I wish you could find a house that was for, I could find a house that was for sale, and I would like pull over and get the thing and see how much it was. Yeah, I would love to live in this neighborhood. We actually have a friend that lives in this neighborhood, and so she lives, so there's 2 houses next door to each other, and when she got married, her grandparents bought, I want to go on the other side, but her grandparents bought the house next door and gave it to her for a wedding present. Can you imagine that? I mean, literally like 2 blocks off of Main Street. And this is like really, really coveted, like, real estate in Indianapolis. So when her grandfather died, it stopped. I didn't even know I was near the end. But they did something where they attached the two houses together. And now they have like this massive house in Zionsville. These all have cute little front porches on them and stuff. Like here, look, you can see that they have like little candles. Can you see that in the windows and stuff? And they have like a white, I don't know if you can see this, like the cemetery thing, what do you call it? Cemetery fence in front. And then there's little small ones, and then you turn the corner, and there's like this huge house. Here, I don't know if you can see it. And then look, you're right here, and you're on Main Street, where they have fancy dress, and it's brick and cobblestone streets. Can you see the brick streets? This is what the town looks like. It's so cute. And there's like upscale dressed boutiques, like right there. It's called Potpourri. There's Potpourri. And then they have these amazing restaurants all through here that are like, oh, this stupid thing, come on. Why is it doing this tonight? They have some of like the best known restaurants in Indianapolis. What is this one place up here called? There's Rosie's Place, which is like this little breakfast brunch kind of place. There's like this really nice place that I came to when I was judging the Miss America thing. Is that it? That's not it. I feel like it's called a guy's name. They have this gorgeous flower shop. Look at this right here. It's like this whole alley of flowers and plants and stuff. And then, like, this is all like, oh, Noah Grant's. Here it is, Noah Grant's. This is the restaurant right here. Isn't this so cute? And then right here is Black Dog Books. This is a rare bookstore. Another restaurant inn. Here's another restaurant inn. Brick Street Hotel. There's a little restaurant out front and stuff. Is this not so cute? And then right as you leave the city limits, like to the left, is this kind of towny bar that people that live here, they always go to, like on Friday and Saturday nights, and they like shoot pool and stuff like that. People that live here are always telling me about it. I've actually had quite a few friends that live in like just like this area right here. City parks right here. I would love to live here. I think it's a little too quiet for Alex. Although it was funny, we were talking with somebody not too long ago, and I said something about I would love to live in Zionsville, and Alex goes, well, why don't we do it then? And I was like, you would not. And he goes, well, I mean, if we found the right house, I would. I'll show you this little towny bar. It's something tavern. It's coming up here. Or maybe it's just called the Local or something like that. It's called something that you would know that. Did I pass it already? No. I was just talking to somebody about it the other day. They didn't take it down or something, did they? Oh no, here it is. Here it is. Is the bar closed now? Hotel Tango Distillery. That's what it is. But then there's a local bar that's at the end. No, it is the Hotel Tango Distillery. That's what it's called. People go there all the time that like are live like locally in Zionsville, and they love it. Our friends that we went to the fireworks with that Saturday, they live in a housing addition that when you drive through it, it looks very much like Savannah, Georgia, or something like each house is different, but each house is like 3 stories with turrets and stuff like that. And it's built to look very old-fashioned, and it's absolutely adorable neighborhood. It's so cute. And they have like walking park, and then they have like inside the neighborhood, they have like a gym and an elementary school, and like little stores, like a coffee store, like inside the neighborhood. There's like a lot of like little communities like that building up all over Indianapolis. The first one that we had here in town was called the Villages of West Clay. And people that lived there, though, they were real phony. Like, you'd say, like, where do you live? And they'd say the Villages. Like, or the Village of West Clay. They just say the Village, though. We live in the Village. I was like, okay. This neighborhood kind of reminds me of that. I was actually talking to my cousin about it the other day. Because she was like, now where do they live? And I was telling her, she's like, oh yeah, that's a really cute neighborhood. She's like, it's been around for a couple of years. And it is a super cute neighborhood. I don't know that I would want, and they don't live too far from here, but they are like out. Like, it's just like this neighborhood that kind of like is just like plopped out in the middle of nowhere. The only thing about that is that they're far away from everything. Like, whereas we're like really centrally located, and I like that. So, I don't know. Anyway, so we went over to our mother-in-law's house. Carlos and Liliana and the kids couldn't come over there till later because Carlitos had a baseball game tonight. And I think Carlitos had a baseball game, and then I think Carlos had a baseball game, my brother-in-law. So when we first got over there, it was just Alex and Fufu and his mother and their mother and I. And so she had made arepas, and she had black beans and chicken for them. And the last time I was there, it was really interesting. She had made like scrambled eggs, and she mixed it with like cilantro and onions and stuff. It was so good, and I put it in mine arepas. But I also, so arepas are like pancakes. They look like that, but they don't taste like pancakes. They taste like corn muffins, kind of, but not sweet at all. And then you can do it a couple different ways. You can cut them completely in half, like that's how like Fufu and his brother Carlos do them. And then you load everything up, and they put like cheese and avocado. So we had avocado and cheese, and Alex uses like deviled ham, and I just put like butter and cheese and avocado on mine, or like the eggs I like, which you can do like whatever. Then Alex actually takes his, and I do it this way as well. I used to take the whole thing and you just cut a hole in the middle of it and stuff everything in like a pita. But Alex now cuts them in half, because his mom's been making them bigger. He cuts them in half, and then each half he puts stuff in. They're really good. And so you have all this stuff on the table, and you basically just like make your own. And she does this thing, I think it's like this Venezuelan tradition. Like when they come out, like she takes them off of the plate and puts them like in, because she puts them in like a basket, like you would put muffins, and she goes like that. And it means something. I was asking her the last time, and she's like, yeah, that's putting love into each arepas for you. So, or each arepa for you. So, we had that. And then she made these strawberry daiquiris, and she buys the mix, you know, she's real into that for them now. Fufu goes, it's a little sweet, Mom. He was like, but they had such a good time. And then we sat around and talked forever. And Alex fell asleep on the couch. He was so tired. I felt so bad for Alex. He was so tired. So he slept on the couch. It was so cute because Fufu came over and he was like, are you tired, Alex? And he was like, yeah. And so he's like, let me take he put this blanket over him, and he was like, here you go, sweet baby. And he was like laughing, and he was like, let me take your shoes off for you. So he was taking Alex's shoes off. But anyway, so then Fufu and Alex's mom and I sat in the kitchen, and we talked forever, and it was just really nice to catch up with him. I miss him so much. I think that we are going to do a video together this week. I put something up on my Instagram. So I think we're going to do a video together. Maybe this week. We'll have to see. And, yeah, it was good. And then Carlos and Liliana and the kids came over. And And they had brought presents for everybody because they had just gotten back from Myrtle Beach. And then we all sat around. And then Fufu brought out his, Nintendo Switch. And he and Carlitos and Sebastian were playing. Then Alex was like, well, I want a Nintendo Switch. And I said, Alex, I was going to buy you one and you didn't want it. He was like, well, I think it'd be really fun to have one now. I go, should we get Switches? Because, like, if he has one, I'll want one then, right? But I was like, they're kind of expensive. So anyway, they were playing Mario Smash or something. I don't know. Fufu was trying to explain it to me. Fufu has such patience with, like, explaining things or telling people I mean, I was asking him all these questions, and I think to anybody else, I would be, like, really annoying them, but, like, he was, like, so patient. It's funny to see how each, like, boy is completely different. Like, Carlos is different from Alex, is different from Fufu, you know? Because they're so completely different, all three of them. And, like, it's interesting, like, Carlos comes across as very, like, tough attitude, but he's kind of like a softie inside. Whereas Alex comes across as softer, but he's kind of tough, like, and direct, which I'm sure doesn't surprise anybody if you've seen him in videos of mine, you know? And then Fufu is just... I don't know, I just love that kid. He's just an amazing kid, and I love his girlfriend, too. She didn't come because she was visiting a friend in San Francisco, and apparently she is on her way home now. So he took this time to come up here. Well, no, I guess she's coming home tomorrow or something. He's not home here, but back to San Diego. He said... that he has to work the whole week that he's here. So, like, the hours that he would work at home, because he works from home, he has to work here. So, he's like, well, I can take breaks and stuff throughout my day, but, like, I pretty much have to be sitting at the computer, like, the whole day there. He's like, which is fine, because, like, mom's working and stuff, too, so... he was just excited to come home. He was supposed to get a tattoo today by his friend that's a tattoo artist. But then his friend ended up having to cancel because he had something personal come up. So Fufu didn't end up getting the tattoo. What did he tell me he was getting a tattoo of? Oh, it was some anime character that he loves. And there was, like, a reason behind why he was getting it. Fufu's really into anime. He always has been. So, like, but when I first started dating Alex, Fufu was 15, and he was really into the Rick Riordan books, because I would go to Barnes & Noble before I would see him, and I would take him, like, a Rick Riordan book over. He's the one that wrote Percy and the whatevers. Fufu used to love those books. And then Alex and I would take Fufu to movies. We took him to see the Transformers movie. And, there was another movie that we took him to, and he was, like, really up. He used to get so scared. He's not anymore, but, like, when he was, like, in high school, like, early high school, he was, like, really scared to watch scary movies. But anyway, the kids were running around, and then Carlitos was, like, you know, they're so entertained by Fufu because they haven't seen him in so long, and, so the rest of the family calls him Tato. And then, like, his girlfriend Jessie calls him, like, and his friends call him Juan, because that's his name, is Juan Carlos. But Alex started calling him Fufu when he was in college, because he had a friend of his whose name was, like, it's like his nickname was, like, Fufu or something like that. And so Alex started calling him, he wanted to, like, call somebody else that, so he called Fufu that. That's how it stuck. So, like, the only people that call him Fufu are, like, me, Alex's college friends, and Sarah. Sarah calls him Fufu, too. And then, like, the close family calls him Tato, T-A-T-O. and like Tio Tato is what they call him. Like Carlitos and Sebastian call him that. And so anyway, the kids were so excited to see him, and so they brought out like this yoga mat or something, and Carlitos and Sebastian were doing like handstands and stuff on it. And so while they were doing it, they were like, Carlitos was like, ask me questions, Tio Tato. And so he was like, okay, what's your favorite color? And so he was like, blue. And so he's like, okay. And so it just was so much fun. I just missed, like, we haven't gotten together as much as we used to as a big family like that. But it was funny. So he was asking him questions like, what's your favorite car? Who's your favorite athlete? And all this kind of stuff. And so we were each asking him questions. And somehow like the topic of girlfriend came up. You don't ask. He's going to be in 3rd grade. You don't ask a 3rd grader if there's a girlfriend, because they get very upset about it. I don't have a girlfriend! They get very upset. And Sebastian was over on the... So this is when Carlitos was like, Alex and Carlitos were on the floor on this yoga mat, and Liliana and Carlos were sitting on these like... They were sitting on the benches, and Fufu was on the floor too. And I was on one couch. So we have like... His mom has like 2 couches facing each other, with like a TV in the middle kind of thing. And... his mom was like, he was like, I don't have a girlfriend. And Sebastian from like the couch over the side, the little brother, he goes, yeah, you do. I remember her name from blah, 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 whatever. And he goes, shut up. And they're like, hey, you don't talk to your brother that way. And Carlitos goes, plus I remember your girlfriend. Sebastian goes, And then Carlitos goes, yeah, you kissed her when you were in preschool. And Sebastian goes, like he hit himself with both hands. He's like, like that. And then he started running around and everybody was laughing. It was just such a fun, like, family night. It was so nice. I'm sure we'll get together a couple other times this week. Fufu doesn't leave until Saturday, I think. Saturday, I think. So it was a good time. I feel so blessed to have the family I do, on either side, and the fact that we're accepted by our family. Isn't that a sad thing? Isn't that a sad thing that I should feel grateful for being accepted by my family? I just feel like that should go without even saying in families, but yeah, there are so many people that aren't accepted by their families, and not just because they're gay or part of the LGBT community, but for many reasons, because of the partners that they choose to be with, for the job. I was telling Alex something last night about my ex, that when my ex went to hair school, like, he worked for a family member, and the family member, like, was like, you're not gonna, like, work here if you're in school to do hair kind of thing. And, we were talking about, like, just ways that family react to stuff that you wouldn't expect. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's sad. And I feel like I have been so blessed in my life to just be accepted by my family and close friends of the family and things like that, I feel very blessed about all of that. I wouldn't say it was always easy though, like, interestingly enough, with Fufu coming home, like, it reminds me a lot of this. Like, when I first started dating Alex, Alex's mom is a devout Catholic. And, I didn't know what she thought about, like, Alex had recently come out to her, like, within 6 months previous, and I didn't know what she would think. And I was really, like, she knew his previous boyfriend, and they had ended on very salty terms. They're fine today, but they had ended, like, on really salty terms, and, Alex's mom is so protective of Alex in a way that I never understood before, but she is just mama bear. And so, like, anytime, like, his name would come up, she just was, like, very much, like, Well, so the interesting thing about her is that she, like in some families you don't talk about stuff. Like, that's not the case with her. Like, she'll talk about things, but you got to let her work through her own process. And, she had just, like, I've said this for years and years and years, long before I ever met Alex, that when you come out, that's one thing, coming out, right? But your family and your friends, they have a coming out process too. So here she is in the middle of her coming out process, getting used to her son being gay, and all of a sudden he's dating this guy, and not just, some other friend, but I'm 12 years older, and, and so when I went into it, I was like, I really want the family to get to know me as a person and really see that, like, I'm a nice person, I'm a good person, and it was like instantly they just accepted me and allowed me in, but like there wasn't ever any pushback from his family at all. They have always been so fantastic, and I think the interesting thing is, you take somebody that is, and his mom and I talk about spirituality and religion a lot. His mom and I have deep conversations about stuff. Tonight we had a deep conversation about some stuff, and I love her. I feel so blessed to have the mother-in-law. I feel so blessed to have the family that I do. To come into a family where my mother-in-law is deeply, deeply devout Catholic. Goes to her priest for answers to things. It's interesting because my mom and her would have gotten along so well on that level. Well, on so many levels, she reminds me of my mom in so many different ways. And yet, she's always said, you're my fourth son. You're just like one of the family. She's always treated me that way. And so has Fufu, and so has Carlos. There's some funny stories about Carlos when Alex and I first started dating. But the other thing is that when Alex and I first started dating, Carlos was in Venezuela, because after high school, he moved back to Venezuela to go to college, and he lived with their dad in Venezuela. So I would only see Carlos like every 6 months when he would come to visit. And, but like the first time that he came, that I met him was the week that I met Alex, because Alex and I went on our date, and Carlos was visiting for like 3 months. And, that's how, like, I met him that week. We went on our date on a Monday, and on Wednesday we went to Champs, because they used to have this band thing outside, and I met Carlos that day. And then that weekend is when Alex and Carlos went to Chicago to visit a family friend, and they were going to a baseball game up there. I can't remember which team. And that was when Alex was like, come up here and meet me in the middle of the night. And then he got mugged. And so I drove up there in the middle of the night and hung out with him that weekend, and got to know Carlos and stuff. And it wasn't that Carlos was ever like, didn't like his brother. There was never anything like about him that was like resistant to the idea of it. Like, he would always say, like, I always knew Alex was gonna be gay, kind of, or that he was gay, kind of thing. But it was that, like, Carlos didn't really get it. Like, I don't know, because there used to be this bar called the 10 in Indianapolis. People call it the Dirty Dime. And it was this lesbian bar, and it was so much fun. It was called the 10 because it was at 10th and Pennsylvania, or it was on 10th Street between Pennsylvania and Meridian in downtown Indianapolis. It's since closed. It was so much fun. And on Thursday nights was like guy night at the 10. It was like gay guy night. And they had like half-price drinks, and everybody went there and stuff like that on Thursday nights. And the dance floor was like jam-packed, and it was so much fun. And they used to do like all the dances. I knew all the dances back in the day. The Cupid Shuffle and, what's that one dance? Apple bottom jeans, boots with the spurs. Do you remember that song back in the day? Yeah, we used to dance to all of that, and they would play it. Oh my God, what was the one Snoop Dogg song that my friend Liz and we used to dance to? It was like the last song they would play every night. It was like couples dance, and Liz and I would always dance to it. Oh shoot, Sexual. What was that song called by Snoop Dogg? I love that song. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Anyway, they played the best music there. They played a lot of hip hop, and I love hip hop. And they played, but they played like a lot of like slow R&B too. Keisha Cole. They played a lot of Keisha Cole. They played Trina, that song, "I'm Single Again." I love that song, "I'm Single Again." Y'all know that song. Anyway, so we took Carlos there with our friend Demetrius that lives, well, he lived in Dallas, now he lives in Denver, the one that we visited out there. And we need to schedule a trip out there to go visit him and my friend that lives out there that I used to go visit back in the day, and my Aunt Susie. We need to schedule a trip to Denver and to Story. So we took Carlos to the 10, and we were leaving, and Carlos was like talking to these girls, and so I went over, like Alex and I walked over, and we were like, "Carlos, like, come on, let's go." And these girls were like being real nice, and they're like, "No, it's cool, you know, whatever," like, no, because he was like, "Yeah, like, let me give you my number," kind of thing. And they're like, "No, it's cool, you know, whatever." He's like, "You don't want my number? Well, yeah, come on, like, you know, they're like, "No, we don't want your number." And so Alex goes, "Carlos." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "They don't want your number." And Carlos is like, "Alex." Like, he is like completely clueless, right? That these girls like each other. They don't like Carlos, okay? And he's like, "Alex, like, you're ruining it for me." And the girls start laughing, and they're like, "We're very flattered, but we date women, we don't date men." And Carlos still doesn't get it. He's like, "I know, but like, let me give you my number." So on the way home, we're trying to explain it to him, and he still doesn't get it. And Demetrius is just bawling, laughing in the back seat of the car. And Alex is like, and Carlos is like, "I don't understand why those girls weren't into me." It was so funny. And my dad and my stepmom and Caroline, they just adore Alex. My Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave loved Alex so much. I mean, they loved Alex. You know, and what an amazing experience to have. Well, and David too, my cousin's son. What an amazing experience to, you know, have a little family all together. Like when we go over to Caroline's house, and like her stepson and his wife are there. I mean, like, we're super close with them. And I actually said something to my mother-in-law the last time we were over there. I said, we need to just start doing holidays together because both sides of the family are so small. And she was like, yeah, I agree. So we might start doing that next year. We'll see. But, part of the problem with that is that Caroline and her husband go to bed so early, and Venezuelan Christmas doesn't happen until midnight, so I don't know that they would make it that far. My friends are always like, how do you stay up so late? Like, Alex's family always like parties so late at night and stuff like that. They really don't. It's just a lot of sitting around and music playing and food. It's fun. It's family, you know? And I think, like, having grown up as an only child with single parents, you know, until my dad was 12, then my stepmom came into the picture, like, there was a lot that I liked about that, but it was lonely at the same time. And I just like being in a bigger family. I don't know, there's something about it that's very But something about it is comfortable to me. I really like it, you know. Where am I at on time? I cannot see. It's either at 29 or it's at 26. Hold on, when I stop up here, I'm gonna look and see. Well, I was saying that, and then it stopped. So I guess I was at the end. Anyway. I can't believe the summer is half over. And, you know, I was looking at the weather. First of all, I haven't been to the pool that... I've been there one time, the pool that I got the membership at. And Tanya's been there... Well, her husband's been there a couple times, but we haven't had nice weather. The weather has absolutely sucked. And this week in Indianapolis, it's supposed to be like low 80s and rain, like every day. I'm like, that's a lot of fun. So I don't know when that's gonna change. I hope soon. It'd be nice just to have 2 or 3 days in a row where the weather was really nice, you know? The next 2 days I'm pretty busy with a bunch of stuff that I have to do. Appointment this week. I think it's Thursday or Friday. And I have something else this week too, and I can't remember what it is. I have it written down at home. Anyway, and then tomorrow night I have my literature group with my girlfriends. We have that tomorrow night, reading Drop the Rock. And then Tuesday I have my home group meeting, which Tanya and I talked about earlier. We're definitely going to. And then Wednesday or Thursday I'm sure we'll do something with my mother-in-law. I feel like she said something tonight about Wednesday. And then Alex leaves for Florida on Friday, and he gets back on Sunday. So I don't know what I'm going to do next weekend. Hopefully I'll be in the middle of a great book, and I'll be, or a TV show or something, you know. But excited about a good week ahead. All right, you guys, I'm going to get off here now, and I'm going to listen to my audiobook. I'm going to finish this book tonight. So anyway, if you're looking for a great book to read, I'm telling you, it is a fantastic thriller. It is called The Last Thing He Told Me, and it is currently on the Audible bestseller list. It's been on there for like a month straight, and it's by Laura Dave. Oh, there it is, right there, Laura Dave. And I'm currently on chapter 32. It says so. I'm at the 6 hour and 8 minute mark and 15 seconds out of 8 hours and 49 minutes and 50 seconds. So, I will be finishing that book tonight. If you want a good recommendation for a book, and I don't know what I'm going to start next. So anyway, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Be kind to one another. Put love out there in the world, as well as faith, hope, and courage, forgiveness, understanding, wonderment and awe, but most importantly, like it says in the 4 agreements, always lead with love. And most importantly, reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you today. And also, like I always say, practice random acts of kindness, but also, like I always say, don't tell anyone, just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's a nice thing to do. And that is it. So I'm going to get off here now, and I hope you guys are having a magically amazing Monday, and I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!